Yeah, something ain't adding up.
Talk to me.
It seems I wore my long legs today. What happens if I...
It's been a long time coming. This video is one of my most successful videos of all time. Something that actually kind of made this channel feel rewarding. We're doing it again, this time for 2015 through 2025. And what I did with the 2014 through 2024 video was included anything with a 3-star and above. And I don't want to inundate you with a lot of movies that you might not even want to watch, really. So there is, two sides to that coin. We're going to miss out on some that you really think should be included, that I watched, that I even did enjoy, and just get to the nitty-gritty of the very good ones. So some years are going to seem a little bit skimpier than others. Starting with 2015, The Green Room. This is one that has been argued as to whether it is horror or not. And I'm going to double check for you guys just because I owe that to you, don't I? And genre on Letterboxd is horror, thriller, and crime. And great acting, cool premise, a lot of menace. And that was just an unintentional rhyme for you guys. The number 2 of 2020, or 2015 rather, is The Witch. We know it by now. Robert Eggers is pretty amazing. I liked The Northman maybe the most. It's a movie that I think hasn't gotten enough love, but The Witch is the movie that really put him on the map. It was something that put Anya Taylor-Joy on the map. Ralph Ineson, tremendous actor. The whole thing is just really, really well done. I do remember when it came out, a lot of people were like, it's just such a quiet movie. It's so weird, slow burn. Definitely not for everybody, but I think horror fans can appreciate class when we receive it. This is a classy horror film. Let's leave it at that. And the numero uno, excuse my marble mouth, is Bone Tomahawk. It's brutal. It's got its Western roots, which is not something that seems like it would lend itself well to the horror genre, but here we are. It is the best of 2015. There is a scene that will be seared into your brain, and it's still one that comes to mind for me when reminiscing about Bone Tomahawk. We got another trio of movies as we move into 2016. A couple of them are South Korean, and we all know it's a great hotbed of cinema. But before we get there, it's another foreign movie. This one is, there's Portuguese spoken, but I guess it was filmed in the US of A, weirdly enough. It is The Eyes of My Mother. This one is a dark horse film, one you should definitely check out. It is in black and white. They do speak Portuguese, so I know that's going to turn off a lot of people, but it is brutal. It is disturbing, and it's right up my alley. I really enjoyed this one. Up next, Train to Busan. Zombie films are pretty hit or miss. If done poorly, it's going to be one of the worst movies of all time, and you really got to do it well to impress. And Train to Busan is one of those really must-see zombie films. And then number 1 for 2016 is The Wailing. So much drama, great character design, great cinematography. The thing with Japanese filmmakers and South Korean filmmakers generally is that they are very, very proficient filmmakers, especially if it's being seen all the way across the globe. And that is totally the truth when it comes to The Wailing. And the ending is tremendous. 2017, we have It. I think that really was something for, even my generation. I was older. I was around 20-ish, whatever. I'm too lazy to do the math. Yeah, I was in my 20s, but I didn't grow up with the TV movie. We were sort of familiar with the premise of like, oh, there's this Pennywise, but this introduced it to a new generation, a couple generations really, and they did a really good job. The kid actors were tremendous. They did a good job of casting kid actors, because kid actors can really make or break a movie, if we're being honest. Killing of a Sacred Deer, this one is another disturbing movie. I mean, not intensely so. We're not talking about like most disturbing all time, but the premise is dripped in mythology, and how that's spun to create a real world horror is super interesting. I was a huge fan of Killing of a Sacred Deer. Great cast too, and Barry Keoghan, or Kogan, however the hell you pronounce it, was stellar. Yorgos Lanthimos, the director, is really well known for having his actors act kind of weird, offbeat. You're generally not going to see performances like you see in Yorgos Lanthimos movies elsewhere. And this was the one where I was like, holy shit, like this feels like it's set in an alternate universe. And I came to like that about it. The second best movie of 2017 in terms of horror is One Cut of the Dead. This is a movie that just appreciates in value exponentially in the second half of the movie. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but there's just a tremendous recontextualization, try saying that word 5 times fast, of the entire movie in the second half. So if you're on the fence of the first half, stick around for the second half. I think it's going to draw you in a lot. And definitely an ode to filmmaking itself, I would say, which is really, really interesting. And the best of 2017, Get Out. If you haven't heard about it, Jordan Peele is a boss. We'll leave it at that. He's tremendous. You got your social commentary, which is neat to be able to do with a genre like horror. But you have scenes like The Sunken Place that's genuinely terrifying. And there's not too many horror, like there's always a discussion about what movies are horror films, right? Get Out goes into that. People kind of think it's like maybe a sci-fi thriller, but I am sticking to my guns that is definitely horror, because it, in some sense maybe a body horror. It's kind of like a Black Mirror style, like dystopian sci-fi twist. I definitely feel it as horror, and let me know your thoughts down below on what you think of the list. What is horror? What is not? If you think some of these don't quite fit the mold, but also be sure to subscribe to show your support for the channel, because a lot of you guys did this when I first made this video over a year ago, and it really did. It was hugely beneficial for me, so I appreciate it, and thank you in advance for doing so. 2018, Possum, another Dark Horse movie, right? This is creepy as all get out. Really solid performances. I mean, it takes puppetry to a whole new level. Disturbing relationships, great reveals. The whole thing is just one that you really shouldn't miss out on. The House That Jack Built. This is a movie by Lars von Trier that has gotten its fair share of flack. A lot of people feel that he was getting too high on his own smell of farts. I don't know what that means, but I will quote it anyways. And maybe that's so. I've seen my fair share of Lars von Trier movies, but not all of his filmography. he was definitely feeling himself. You know, he was cocky. You know, he was peacocking, so to speak. I liked what they did with this movie. It was really cool. Maybe a little bit on the long side, but the whole allegory aspect was really cool at the end. Mr. Sophistication and really getting into the mind of this character, Jack, was cool. And some of the stories just seemed to get more and more depraved. And I don't know, maybe I'm a sick puppy because I really started to like that about the movie. Then we got Halloween by David Gordon Green. I've talked so much about the series as a whole, and I've thrown a lot of shade at David Gordon Green. Yes, I liked Pineapple Express. I do like this film too. Outside of this, he's had some bad beats, as the poker players say. And I'm not going to let that color this film, though. It was a great soft reboot. That some of the cinematography was just I admired and appreciated, to say the least. And if it would have stayed on that trajectory, it would have been a really, really good trilogy. I think that's a high task, which is not a phrase. A hard task, maybe better said. But look, he did start off really good. It shows some promise there, obviously, with The Exorcist. And now I'm getting into David Gordon Green filmography. But you guys are obviously fans of horror, so I don't think I'm boring anyone with this. Exorcist Believer. Because, right, I mean, he starts out this Halloween trilogy so well. And you're like, well, hey, man, if we just get one more very good, solid Exorcist film, you know, maybe the sacrifice is that the next two aren't going to be so great. But, yeah, he couldn't even start it out well. Maybe he was like, well, maybe if I build towards it, that'll work. But alas, he is no longer married to that trilogy and project. But anywho, let's move on with more 2018. We have Climax. Gaspar Noé, he is a sick person, both in his mind for plot, but also in some of the kind of weird stuff that he has done behind the scenes. I think it's Carne is what it's called. Someone put me on to this. Underage actress, he kind of insisted, hey, let me film you while you're nude. That is creepy, right? And some of the language he used to basically convince her to do so, it doesn't make you feel good. Beyond that, though, he is disturbing as a filmmaker. But we're not going to just stick on his personal life for too long. But I feel it is worth throwing out there at least. And mind you, this is on the IMDb of, I believe it's Carne, if I am correct. Which I think is like the prequel, like the preamble to I Stand Alone, which is another disturbing movie, but I guess it's the woman, the girl, the daughter from that. Anywho, we're getting to Climax. Hellish visuals and constant motion. I love the kinetic energy of the movie. Now I am appreciative of the art, maybe not so much the artist. I mean, there is like a negative connotation that I'm putting a hard spin on, you know, what I brought up earlier. And it is just based upon my worldview, my knowledge of like what goes on in the world. So my apologies to you if you know him well, you're a big fan of him and you know that he did no harm. It's just like that anytime something like that happens, you gotta, you know, kind of use your gut on what is right and what is not. But completely separating the artist from the art, this was a great film. Not even very good. This was a great film. One I would highly recommend. Very disturbing stuff. Hellish imagery. Kinetic energy. Just very snappy, up-tempo movie. and a cool ass ending too. I really did appreciate that ending. 2018, such a solid year that we have Hereditary coming in at 3. I've been bashed about this. What is it? It's been 3 times already because I keep doing half, like 6-month increments of doing these updating. So, you know, I updated 2024 after 6 months, and then again, and now I'm adding 2025. So it's been twice or 3 times, and I'm sure I'm going to get rightfully bashed. Look, Hereditary, I love it. It really, really is a tremendous movie. One that I saw in theaters where it didn't quite sink in immediately because you heard, oh, this is like the new Exorcist. And you're watching it, and you're like, okay. I mean, that's a high bill. And it finishes, and you're like, I don't know, is it as good as The Exorcist? And then you let it sit with you for a couple nights. And look, The Exorcist, in my opinion, is the greatest horror movie of all time. But Hereditary does check a lot of the boxes that The Exorcist did. So I think it's an appropriate comparison, despite the fact that, like, I do think The Exorcist is just a bit better. You know, I think there's a clear edge that goes to The Exorcist, but Hereditary, plot-wise, is similar. The way it creates the mood, and also something that I don't think Exorcist gets enough praise for. The performances were amazing. Same goes for Hereditary. Then we have Mandy. This is like, I love this dark fantasy vibe that it has going. Visually stunning. Very impressive performance from Nick Cage. It's one of those, he's great in pretty much everything he touches. Even if the movie is complete shit, he is generally the shining star of the film itself. This is a great movie where he also helps elevate it with his performance. It's dark, it's disturbing, it's cool, it has cult stuff, drug references, fantasy. I really think it does it all. Then the numero uno of 2018, Annihilation. This is a filmmaker in Alex Garland that is impressive. I mean, I like to keep an eye on pretty much everything he does. I haven't seen Men yet, but I've seen Warfare, which is, you know, it's not horror, but Annihilation is. Deus Machina is not quite horror, but his sci-fi shit is great. And Annihilation is cosmic horror, which is sort of sci-fi, kind of, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's its own thing, really. It's genuinely really, really cool. Natalie Portman owns that role, but also, like, the whole idea, it is like Tarkovsky-esque, which is not a name that some horror fans will be familiar with, but he is, like, in terms of complex plots and just tremendous writing, he is an OG, one of the best Russian directors of all time. He's done Stalker. He's done Andrei Rublev. He's done, I'm trying to think, Solaris, which is probably the closest comparison to Annihilation. And Annihilation has enough of a spin where it's really not copying that at all. And it's obviously based on a book. But I really like cosmic horror and how that kind of messes with your head a little bit. Annihilation was tremendous. Going to 2020, the pandemic year, we have... Oh, no, I went ahead a year. Sorry, 2019. I'm not skipping 2019. Us. Jordan Peele again. This is actually my lowest rated film from Jordan Peele, but it's still very good. And good reveals, some good menace. Feels, I mean, he's got the social commentary as he is one to do or want to do. And it's overall a solid film. It just doesn't quite hit the highs of Get Out and another movie that we're going to be mentioning later on. Ready or Not, This is what the Blumhouse films try to be, and when they're successful, they hit this level. Ready or Not is, it takes a game that we're familiar with and just puts that edge on it and makes it very, snappy. You never really want to take your attention away from the film, and it keeps you engaged the whole time. Going up next, maybe this is a dark horse. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with this, but The Lodge. And this isn't a spoiler, but if you've seen the film, you'll get this, and you'll want to watch the film to get this reference, to be like in on the inside jokes that I make, to be in the in crowd. But those kids are dicks. Cool cult stuff. Real kind of head twister of a movie. I liked this, and me and my fiance, she was my girlfriend at the time that we watched this, we both were like, damn, that was really cool afterwards. Saint Maud, similar, kind of a head, messes with your head a little bit. This film, it just really builds an intensity until you get to the end, and then the end really solidifies it. And I do like when movies can accomplish that. It Chapter 2, which I like maybe more than Consensus. I'm not going to say what got me into Hot Water before, but suffice it to say the adult cast was very good and mucho aficionado. The Lighthouse, kind of more like mythological, cosmic horror-esque. Robert Eggers is tremendous. Black and white film, just nailing the basics. This guy, great cast. It's a small cast, obviously. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe do all of the heavy lifting. And if you were going to cast two people to do that, those are two people who would be high up on my list as well. Midsummer, my dad, who has been on the channel numerous times before, not a fan of this. I love the shock factor, which Hereditary has as well. The beginning, the middle, the end, it's just chock full of these moments that really are viscerally upsetting, and that is why Midsummer is my best horror film of 2019. Going into 2020 now, we are into the pandemic year, the start of the pandemic. Quiet Place Part 2. First one didn't quite make the list for me, but I felt like the sequel actually sort of surpassed the original to make it onto this list of films that should be checked out. Now, I think if you generally, even if you haven't watched any of the films, you're familiar with the premise to where I'm kind of thinking, like, do you really need to watch one? I guess it doesn't hurt, right? But I don't even believe it's like a necessity if you just wanted to skip into two. Would I recommend that? No, but you could if you wanted to. History of the Occult coming in after Quiet Place, meaning it's better. And this is an Argentinian movie, shades of David Lynch, very impressive, great cinematography, very cool ending. Possessor, this is Brandon Cronenberg, who is, of course, son of David Cronenberg, who is a horror legend. Good body horror, cool kind of psychological horror. I am a fan. The Empty Man, this was a movie that was recommended to me upon my first posting of the 2014 to 2024 list. I love tulpas. I was like, Slender Man is what got me into that. And the whole way that deals with that idea is very, very thought-provoking and cool as all hell. The Invisible Man, this does justice to the classic horror film of old. I saw this in a drive-in theater prior to the whole pandemic. It was dope as hell, and I was a fan. I'm thinking of ending things is the numero uno movie of 2020. We all should know, if we don't know already, Charlie Kaufman is one of those writers slash directors who is always going to challenge the audience. This film is for sure no different. It's going to leave you trying to piece it all together after the fact, but I really liked it, and it gave room for these tremendous performances to like kind of try to lead you in the right direction, so to speak. A big fan of Charlie Kaufman as well as his work with I'm Thinking of Ending Things. 2021 is a bit of a lighter year. Obviously, the pandemic probably affected this year even more so than 2020, but we do have the remake or soft reboot, whatever it would be classified as, of Candyman, which I grew up very much liking. Candyman wasn't quite Freddy Krueger level for me, but it was one that I was kind of infatuated with as far as the character. Now, this one doesn't surpass the original, but I did actually, I was in the camp that thought it was cool in what it did. Then we have Fear Street 1978, which there was 3 releases of Fear Street in the year 2021 alone. 78 stands out amongst the trio because it is shades of Jason Voorhees, the slasher genre. I like slashers. It doesn't automatically mean I'm going to rate it super positively, but it did it well, which is definitely going to earn points with the judges, aka myself. And the number 1 film from 2021, Mad God. I've talked about this film ad nauseum, right? So why stop now? It's stop motion, Phil Tippett, one of the best guys when it comes to animatronics, and like Jurassic Park, for example, is one of his best works, but he directs this. This was a passion project he had worked on for decades, plural, and it comes to life with him. Very little actual like words spoken in the film, if any, but it's still tremendous storytelling and some of the best stop motion you ever find in your life. 2022, we're getting back to David Cronenberg with Crimes of the Future. Cool commentary and well thought out. Deadstream actually made me kind of yelp at one point. One of the jump scares actually got me, but it's funny more than anything. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This one is controversial, I'm sure, for all of you listening. I think literally Pete Davidson being in the film itself is just going to add controversy to whether you like or dislike a movie. I don't hate him. I thought the film did genuinely give a lot of room for multiple performers to stand out and do well. So for that reason, and the kind of twist at the end made it an enjoyable film, and I thought it was very good. Incantation, very reminiscent of like text chains, those horror text chains maybe you used to get when you were younger, if you grew up in my generation, or creepypastas where, not giving anything away, but maybe you've come across a creepypasta that reminds you of what Incantation does here. Foreign, but well worth it. Bones and All, Timothée Chalamet, shout out to him. Cool story, well executed. Scream, I think Scream is one of those ones where they rarely miss. I think there's really only one that I thought was like not up to the snuff of the other films in the franchise, but the ones they've been making recently are all pretty enjoyable. Skinamarink, this is one that you either gonna love or you're gonna hate, and I thought it was very good. Quiet horror is what I've heard it described as. One to check out. See if you're into that type of stuff, because I thought it was pretty freaking cool, and I watched it with my fiance's younger brother. He is He's, in his teens, and you would think someone who's on the younger side would be just absolutely fucking disgusted by a slowish film like this, but he was like, that was damn good afterwards. So, give yourself credit. You might get there. You might be able to like it yourself. Speak No Evil. This one's brutal. It's really going to play with your emotions. It's going to stress you the fuck out. And you got to watch it. I haven't watched the American. Okay, now I'm talking about the OG, the original, as it was recommended to me upon making my original 14 to 24 video. Very glad it was recommended to me because it is the real deal. Barbarian, funny as all hell, great premise, tight premise. I love how there's a dramatic shift from the first half to the second half, and the middle is just like comedy gold. So they kind of found a way to do it all. Nope, coming up next. A lot of people weren't super high on this, but I think when you can make alien movies right, like they did here, it's impressive for me, because I just think sometimes it's so... it's a harder task for me personally. Maybe it's just because I don't watch a lot. It's not one of my like go-to micro genres. But I didn't know what I was getting into. The reveal was really cool once it was revealed. So I just appreciated it as a whole. And then the number one movie for 2022, Talk to Me. What a debut, right? I thought the premise was tight. The acting was very good, and the visuals were, that's the type of shit I like to see from my horror. So 2022 is a bit of a stacked year, no doubt about it. Maybe not quite as stacked as one of the years we're about to come upon as we get into our last 3 years. But with that said, 2023, starting with Scream 5, or 6 rather. And like I said, very solid kind of series. They've kept it going, maintaining very, very high levels of execution. How they keep managing to put these twists to where you don't know who it is. You got to give them credit. Birth, Rebirth. This is kind of a twist on the Frankenstein genre, or, type of movie. I liked it. The actresses were really good. The one mom is just like, she has a face for playing these types of roles, and we'll leave it at that. The third best, Strange Darling. I watched this one recently. It was recommended to me quite recently. Shout out for that recommendation, because it was good. Talk about subversion of expectations. And the ending was pretty good, but it's a non-chronological telling. You get a serial killer, a story of a serial killer, and it really flips it on its head. So huge respect for that. Late Night with the Devil. I love David Dasmalchian, and I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but if not, have him reach out to me personally so we can discuss how to pronounce his name, but also so we can be best friends potentially. Just throwing that out there. Cool premise. Love the aesthetic. The 1970s late night talk. Back the golden age of late night talk, before it was fraught with frauds, some would say. I don't know. Just trying to keep the energy high, guys. But number one for 2023, One Evil Lurks. And the film's got to be good, right, when it's a foreign horror topping the list for the year, right? Because we had it in The Wailing, and that's it. Only two of the years did this happen. This is Argentinian. Again, they can make some good horror. You never would have thought it, right? You think horror, you think Japan. I guess you think South Korea just because they're just so good at about everything. Italy, France, England, anywhere in the UK really, obviously. US, maybe even some Mexican horror. Canada, which is basically, they're America light. We all know that in every way, right? They're like America, just not quite. That's just ribbing my Canadian brothers. But Argentina is becoming a bit of a player in the horror sphere. And One Evil Lurks is a possession movie that offers something new, which doesn't happen too much in that subgenre. But anywho, 2024, I saw the TV glow. This is slower, right? It's not going to be for everybody, but the ending really ties it all together in a real way. It's a film with a message. It's slow, but I think it's worth it in the end. Chime, this one, I'm cheating a bit here, right? Because this is kind of like, I don't even know if it's 45 minutes, right? So if you're strapped for time, I don't know if that's feature length. I think 60 is generally feature length, so I'm cheating a little bit. But it's one of those movies that a little bit of a mind fuck, intense, brutal, a bit disturbing, you could say. Blink twice, I like it. I really like the reveal and what that is saying and the ending. So just well done. Applause for you, Zoe Kravitz, the daughter of Lenny Kravitz, who sings American Woman, which is a great song. Alien Romulus. I just really liked this after I watched it. I think if I watched it again, maybe it wouldn't be nearly as highly rated. That being said, it feels like an ode to the original, and that's either going to be exactly what you're looking for, or it's going to be just like, okay, more of the same, right? Oddity. This was another film that was highly recommended upon my first making of the video for 14 through 24. That's a creepy ass doll. I think that doll is creepier than Annabelle. Okay. And I'm going to stick to my guns on that. Smile 2, I thought was a step up from Smile 1. And I like Smile 1. Obviously not enough to make this list, but cool extension of the story. And, again, real mind fuckery going on with that one. Terrifier 3, I like the whole series. Again, even all the way back to All Hallows Eve. I did think, with budget restrictions, they weren't quite able to I think they had to leave some stuff out prior to this, but they just kept snowballing successes until they got to 3, and it has its largest budget yet. Still small budget in comparison to basically all of the films that have been included thus far. But this one was able to do stuff with the story that it really hadn't done yet, that made it not only the most interesting, but the most proficient too. First Omen, this is basically a prequel that is rightful to carry the Omen name. And it might be my favorite Omen movie, period, or exclamation point. I'm not sure which. Heretic, Cary Grant. No, not Cary Grant. What's this guy's name again? Sorry for sounding. Hugh Grant. Not Hugh Jass. Hugh Grant. This is one of the few roles I've seen him in because I don't watch a lot of romantic comedies. But he impressed my shoes off, and the premise did as well. Mads up next. This is a French horror. It's kind of one of these things where it's a psychological horror where you're not quite sure, like, is this happening because of A or B? And that's like a cool thing going on for a large part of the film. And then you're like, well, what is this? What is happening here? And like, what are the rules for what's happening too? Just trying to like piece it all together is super cool, but also like, brutal too, which I love. Then we have The Substance, Demi Moore in her twilight years, because actresses, obviously their shelf life is not quite the same as their male counterparts. And that's like meta for the film itself, right? Because that's the whole thing, is her character trying to be younger, be skinnier, be more youthful, right? Super commentary on the cosmetic industry, but also to drugs, right? Whether like recreational, illicit, illegal, or legal, that a lot of people use that as a crutch because they don't like who they are, so they lean on the substance to make them feel like someone else. So it works on two levels, and I mean, that's a mark of a very good movie in my opinion. Long Legs is second to best in 2024. A little bit of a polarizing movie. Nick Cage is tremendous, but this is one of the most impressive plot lines going. It's about as impressive as Talk to Me. Osgood Porkins really used some trauma to build this intricate story that I was worth diving into. Like hours of research to do an analysis on that for a video, and I ate it all up. That was a fun use of my time. So thank you, Osgood Porkins, for making a movie that interesting, where I could just look into little influences for the film itself, little Easter eggs, everything is just cool. And the best of 2024, another classy horror film, Nosferatu. And when you're dealing with these high-level vampires, you got to be classy, right? Robert Eggers has that in spades. And this is his third inclusion on this list thus far. And Nosferatu, great cinematography, great period piece, very good performances, and a film that actually, like Nosferatu is a film that in the pantheon of horror, in the annals of horror history, it's a film that has withstood 100 years of time where people still know about it. You know, I'm not an old head. I know people like to call me old because I'm almost 30, but I'm not an old head, and I know Nosferatu. In fact, I've seen the silent movie Nosferatu, right? Crazy. And it's for free. You can watch it on YouTube right after this video. It surpasses it, in my opinion. And I know, like, look, it had a 100-year advantage. Will this one, like, stand the test of time quite the same way? Who knows? But in my opinion, it outdid it even when you try to weigh them against each other. Like, you give the benefit of, like, hey, look, this was doing what it did in a silent era, so it didn't have the benefit of sound or color. I think there's an argument to be made that Eggers gets the edge. Now we're on to the current year, 2025. Honestly, it's coming after such a solid year of horror. Like 2024 might... I think there's a good argument to be made that 2024 was the best of the last 10 years. So anything coming after that's it's going to be hard sledding. And we're not done with the year yet. I'm sure as we get into October, we might have a few more. But there are some movies I saw recently that are starting to help bulk this year up. We got Osgood Porkins making another entry onto the list with Monkey. This is another hit or miss. I liked the twist that was going on here. Companion, cool AI horror. 28 years later, we're a world building. I know you guys are all going to say, look, dude, get the fucking marbles out of your mouth.
We're a world.
I took time to address it right now as I'm speaking. My apologies. Stick around, we're almost done with the list, okay? But we're world building in the 28 whatever later universe, which is cool. I really like the guy actor from Kick-Ass, whose name I'm looking up, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Wouldn't it be cool if him and Anya Johnson Taylor, or whatever the fuck her name is, if they got married? Just so we could get confused by their names.
I've never been able to properly explain myself in this climate.
And then we're going to Together. This has some superb imagery, cool plot, good performances. Ugly Stepsister takes the old Cinderella story we're all very aware of, adds context, and turns it into the real body horror film that the original source material would lend itself to, and it does. Then we got The Long Walk. This has been getting a lot of talk recently. I just watched it. Very recently came out. Worth the watch, without a doubt. And the ending sticks with you and makes you think, which I'm a fan of when films can do. Bring Her Back. We are with I've heard their last names pronounced, but the Philippu, Danny and Michael Philippu, Rucka brothers, to say without me sounding dumb. This isn't quite Talk to Me levels good, but it's in that realm, and it is very good. Definitely a film to watch for 2025, and violent, gory, interesting. Weapons, same deal. Violent, gory, interesting. You're going to want to figure out the twist and the why they're running like they watched too much Naruto, which is how I've been told it is pronounced. And probably the sweetheart horror film of 2025 that a lot of people are in agreement. A lot of people they think this is the best movie of the whole damn year. We still got some, a little bit of time left, so I'm not sure yet. But Sinners, obviously. Michael B. Jordan brings it. Cool. The inclusion of music, the commentary on culture. It does a lot of things well and should be applauded, without a doubt. Look, I've been talking your ear off for too long, almost 50 minutes here. I am glad you joined me. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe. Let me know what movies I missed and what I should check out. I'm also always open to recommendations, and I will catch you on the flippity flip. Bye, y'all.